Hello there. You might have noticed that the last album review that I did was The Beach Boys 2020, and as that one ends the 60s era of the group, and I've been doing these album reviews in a semi-chronological order, and the next one is going to be Sunflower from 1970, but as we are moving, the 70s era is my personal favorite era of the Beach Boys, and as we are moving towards that, I want to take a little break on these reviews and kind of go a little bit backwards and talk about the few things that I haven't yet talked about. One is the Christmas album that I am going to be reviewing this December finally, and the other stuff that I have kind of just glossed over is the live stuff. And I thought that this would be a perfect time to start off this little sidetrack on the Beach. Let's review all the Beach Boys albums saga that I'm doing right now on this channel, and let's start discussing about their live material, live albums that they've put out, and because there's not really that many of them, so I thought that this video would be just this casual kind of quick let's go through with the stuff that they've put out officially, and then I have a few unofficial albums over here that I'm going to talk about at the end of this video. So this is not really a review, this is just a little run through of the material that they've put out, because there's not really many of them, and I think for the future of the Beach Boys it will be very important and very exciting, coming from a fan point of view, if the management would start putting out more archival stuff, and they've done good job with the studio recordings, but they really need to start putting more live stuff out there. Start off from the 60s stuff that they put out only digitally, the Live in Chicago set, for example, and the Live Sunshine material, the Late in Hawaii album. Put those out in a physical format. Grateful Dead is doing such a great job with releasing their live albums in these like small prints for collectors. It's a great way to keep the music alive, and it's a great way to service the fans. And personally I think that's a huge missed opportunity by the group for not putting out the live stuff, because there's hundreds of shows that they must have in the vaults. But anyhow, let's continue and let's start discussing about the live albums that they have put out. The first one is the Beach Boys Concert, which was released in '64, I believe. But I don't remember the month. But this is a very interesting, a high quality release. I really love this, and I actually did a little mistake in the 2020 review that I did, because I mentioned that it's the first gatefold release that the Beach Boys put out, but I forgot that the concert album actually was gatefold as well. So this is actually the first gatefold release that they put out, and they use it very wisely. They have great photos over here, a little booklet, you might say, with nice photos from the concert from Sacramento, and this is a very interesting live album to listen to. Not my favorite, but it's interesting because it's the original lineup. They are young, they are hungry, they are very energetic, and Brian is doing the bass work. It's the original lineup with the original instruments and no backing musicians, and you can hear that youthful energy, perfection in the performance, and it just flows really well. And I wish that there was more official physical releases of concerts from the early 60s, mid 60s with the original lineup, because they were a great rock and roll band in the early days. But why this is not one of my favorites? Well, there's two main factors. The first one is the screaming teenage girls. It's kind of fun to hear them, but in the same time, it's very overwhelming, and it's like nails on a chalkboard type of noise. it's not like thunders, like some sort of thunderous applause that you hear on Queen performing at Wembley. You know, it's not like that. I like that in a live recording you hear the audience response, but that screeching sound destroys the, you know, it's hard to your ears, at least my ears, so I don't like that. And the other factor, which is the main factor why I don't like this particular live album that much, is the track list itself. Personally, the highlight for me is probably Let's Go Trippin', because that's something that they didn't do later on, which is just pure surf rock, and they really nail that. It really works, you know, it's great. But the other stuff, you know, the classics like Fun Fun Fun, and you know, they have been beaten to death. Well, it's cool to hear them play them over here when they were still new songs, fresh songs, and they sound just like on the records. You know, that's cool, but we've all heard those songs so much, and during the 70s and, you know, all throughout the decades, then those tunes would be played at the encore, and, you know, like half of these songs are covers, and Johnny Be Good is a classic one, obviously, and I love The Wanderer with vocals by Dennis, but then these songs like Papa Ooh Mau Mau, or Little Old Lady from Pasadena, or Long Tall Texan, Monster Mash, I just don't like these songs. You know, not really my type of songs, so that really puts it down for me a little bit, but I still like the record. I still think it's worth having and worth listening to. But let's move forward. The next live album that they put out was The Beach Boys Live in London, which was recorded in '69 and originally released in 1970. This copy is from 1976, I believe, UK copy, and this is a weird album because they've put this out during the 70s with many different album covers, and this particular pressing over here uses an album cover from the early 70s with Blondie over here, and obviously he is not included in the concert itself, so it's weird that they used a cover like this, but yeah, whatever, you know. The show itself, you know, it was recorded at Palladium, which is about, I think it's a theater with about the seating of 2,000 or 3,000 persons. I've been there myself, seen Brian perform over there, but this album and this show is very different because the Beach Boys, during the later 60s, obviously Brian wasn't there anymore, and they had incorporated not just Bruce Johnston but a lot of backing musicians. I believe Ed Carter was there already, and then there's horn and, you know, trumpet players, maybe cello. So, you know, the sound is very different. But this is probably the most untouched of the official Beach Boys live albums that there is. I'm not really sure how much stuff was done to the original concert album from, you know, the earlier 60s. Because I haven't been able to find specific mentions if stuff was done to the music performances itself, or if it was just about, you know, post-processing the audience reactions. I'm not sure, but something was done to it anyhow, because I've been able to, you know, read that fact from multiple sources, but I'm not sure of the specifics. About this one, I don't know. I haven't heard anything, you know, studio trickery, you know, stuff done to this album, so I don't know, but maybe there was, I don't know. But the live album that they put out after this one in '73, the In Concert album, has a little bit more, once again, some post processing trickery, and it's not a, you know, it's compiled from multiple shows, so it's not like a single performance. And I believe this is from a single performance, but there's some cuts, and I'm not sure about the full set list. I believe this probably cuts a few tracks of it, but I like this a lot more than the concert album. The set list is much of my type, you know. Starts off with Darling, you have Wouldn't It Be Nice, obviously the Pet Sounds stuff, Do It Again, Wake the World. So there's a lot of stuff from Friends, What Honey, you got Aren't You Glad, and even brand new songs, you know, that they did in 2020, like Bluebirds Over the Mountain. And it's weird that it ends with Barbara Ann. So that's a little bit of a bummer, because after Barbara Ann, you are still waiting for fun or something, you know, but it just ends there, and it's a weird ending. I'm not sure if the show actually ended with Barbara Ann, but on the album at least it just feels weird. But I used to like Mike's banter, which you can hear throughout this album. I mean, still I think a few of his jokes are funny, like the a cappella, which means nude thing. I think that's really funny. But then some of the stuff gets very old, like the joke that he does during Good Vibrations with the different tempo, and then starts to do the funeral thing with the organ section, and you know, those sort of, and Bruce's the name of this song is that thing before Wouldn't It Be Nice. Those things kind of get old. But otherwise, you know, great album, great little banter here and there. The Carnegie Hall show, which was released the first time officially, was it this year or last? I think it was last year. Time flies by. With the Sail on Sailor box set. So it was a 3-part vinyl release. On the vinyl set, 3 LPs, and then it was also included on the CD set. And I wished that they had released it as a separate thing, also because this is a killer concert. But I don't have the full track list over here, and I can't remember it off the top of my head of the rest of the LPs over there. This is just the first one. But this one is this is. Personally, I think the era with Blondie and Ricky, you know, so the early 70s, from, you know, 72 to 73 is like the best era for me, at least personally, by the Beach Boys. They sound so cool, so rocking, and they are not square, you know. I'm just gonna move to this one because the sound is very similar on that show than it is over here, but I have the full track list over here and the images and stuff. But you know, this is really where it's at for me, at least this era with Blondie and Ricky. Even Mike just looks so freaking cool over here, which is kind of rare for him. But you know, he was playing the electro-theremin or tangerine, whatever, you know, and had a longer hair and beard, and all the guys looked just so freaking cool. And obviously Blondie and Ricky, their input to the live shows was phenomenal. It really spiced up the sound and the energy. They had a lot of deep cuts and a lot of rockers, but also a lot of Pet Sounds stuff, you know, great ballads, and some of the bigger hits as well, but it wasn't a nostalgia act yet. So, you know, Endless Summer then in 74 kind of changed all that, though they did continue performing deep cuts throughout the 70s as well, and in the early 80s too. But kind of after Dennis passed, I feel the band went through a lot of changes in the mid 80s, and you know, I don't personally have a lot of interest for their live stuff after Dennis passed, though I really enjoy Carl's work. His vocals just got better. And I think he sounded the best in the 90s. So, you know, I take all the stuff with Carl on vocals any day. But yeah, I personally just think that this era is the greatest by them. And I love, one of my favorite songs is Leaving This Town. And I love that we have now, I think three different live versions of that song. One from here, one from Carnegie Hall, and I think there's one other on the Sail on Sailor box set with a guitar solo. So basically we have a version of it with the studio one with an organ solo. No, the studio one is, I think the studio one is with the synth solo, and then the version over here is with an organ solo, and then we have one on the Sail on Sailor box set with a guitar solo. I think so. And I love that song. It's a very progressive track. It's very sad how fastly this era ended, how abruptly it ended, and how fastly if you compare their sound and them on stage during the Brian's Back era, for example, it's a completely different band almost compared to this one. This sounds more like Grateful Dead or something, in their heyday. So, during the same era as well, early 70s, they sound very similar, very energetic and just like hungry for great audience reactions and stuff. And then in the later, just a few years later, I'm not saying that the performances were lackluster, but you can really notice the dip in quality and energy, and it's sad. But there were a lot of factors, obviously, not just the fact that they lost Blondie and Ricky, but other factors as well, like drugs and all that stuff. But the next official released Beach Boys live album is then the Beach Boys Live at Knebworth. So this is near London, park or castle, whatever, I guess it's like a castle park or something, where they used to keep these huge rock shows in the 70s and 80s. I'm not sure when they ended them, but there's also a video performance of this show, and this is one of my favorites. It has the original lineup, including Bruce Johnston, and Dennis is just a show stealer. He's just so charismatic, energetic, and steals the show. It's so great to watch him because he's vocally over here, all over the place. That's the one thing that is lacking in concert in the 73 live album, which Dennis is on the cover, but he's not vocally there, which is criminal. But over here, he's all over the place, and I love it. And the track list in general is great. I love that they included the newer stuff as well, because this is from 1980, so there's Keeping the Summer Alive, Lady Linda, Happy Birthday Brian. I love that little part. I just wish that we'd get a unedited version of this, because they actually played other songs as well on the show that weren't included. And I know that they were cut because they were considered not good enough, but I don't really care. I never understood that sort of thinking when it comes to releasing live recordings, because in my opinion, the whole point of a live, especially if it's a full concert and not just like a compilation of live recordings, I personally feel that the whole point is to have the whole show over there with the words and the songs that are not that great, etc. You want to have the whole experience, and that includes the dips and the screw ups and all that stuff. So I would really love to have the full concert officially released as well. It's like the Beach Boys on steroids. They are using these noisy overdrive guitar pedals effects. They sound so freaking cool and hard rocking, and I really love the 1980 tour, because all the stuff that I've heard, this one and the 4th of July show, for example, and some other things, some unofficial things, I really love their sound on this tour. They really kicked ass, sound so freaking cool. And then I think this is the last one, yeah. The 50th anniversary tour, yeah. Sorry, I'm kind of tired. It's pretty late, about midnight, and I have work tomorrow. I had work today, but I'm not sleepy, so I decided, and it's silent, so I decided to do this video now, but I'm pretty tired, so you can maybe notice that, and I'm talking a bit more silently because, you know, it's night and I don't want to harass other people and, you know, so on. So anyhow, this thing is it's not even a mixed bag, let's be honest. It's garbage. The tour itself was phenomenal, and I was at the last show at Wembley that they did in September. They played 55 songs over there. It was a killer concert, the best concert that I've ever witnessed by anybody. And this thing doesn't sound anything like it. This sounds so freaking limp and weird, filled with auto-tune, weird edits, weird audience reaction, applause. It's just a copy-paste freaking disaster. It doesn't sound anything like what they actually did on the tour, and I just hate that they cheaply produced this sort of thing. This is just an embarrassment, really. And I listened to this a few times when it was released, and then I listened to this I think last year, maybe once or twice, and yeah, it still sucks. And this is a huge missed opportunity. I'm combining words over here. Huge missed opportunity for them for not actually putting out a decent, unaltered show from the tour. Actually, I'd love that they'd put out all of them in the same style that Bruce Springsteen, for example, has been. You can go through his archives and you can buy, I'm not sure, and you know, Dead & Company does that too. I've purchased from both of them, what's that site? Well, I cannot remember now, but there's this site that hosts basically those shows. So there's like all of their stuff from like 70s, 80s, 90s, whatever, you know, and you can buy any of those live shows and they press them and you order them. Nuggets or something, I guess, is that site. I love that, and the Beach Boys should be doing the same, because obviously, and you'd think that they have all the recordings still somewhere on a hard drive. So put all of them out there and people could buy them, enjoy them, you know, enjoy the music, spread the word, keep the music alive, you know. And from historical point of view, it would be great, because, you know, this is the last tour that Brian did with the Beach Boys, and for me at least, that's very important. And yeah, so anyway, let's move forward, because that's just the fuck. I get so sad about thinking about that, really. So here I have something, it's still like in a cover. So this is something that I hope the Beach Boys management is not going to do a raid at my house now. I haven't showed this to anyone. So basically it's something that I did. So it's the Beach Boys live at Wembley 2012 show on Blu-ray. So it has like disc 1 and disc 2. I did the whole thing, you know, and I should still do a cover. I'm not selling these. I haven't given them to anybody. The only thing, you know, the material, I didn't record anything. The show is on YouTube, and, you know, big thumbs up for the individual who recorded it. The whole thing, I've watched that whole thing multiple times. It was just a phenomenal show. They played 55 songs, a lot of deep cuts, and Brian was just killing it. And I'm gonna put over here a little, I was just watching this before I started to make this video, and the applause that Brian gets when he starts to sing his classic part in Surfer Girl, which was his first, excluding the first song, Do It Again, where he had a little snippet of a vocal, you know, lead vocal bit, but Surfer Girl was his first bigger lead vocal. I think it was 7th track of the show, and huge applause that he gets when he sings that first line, and there's that little pause, and he looks at the audience and gives this smile, and he's so happy. And the whole show was phenomenal. Everybody was just doing their best, and the energy was up there. It really sounds almost kind of like in the 60s. It's crazy. And I don't know what else to say about it, but you know, what I did basically for the Blu-ray was I, you know, downloaded all the stuff that was up there on YouTube, edited a little bit, you know, added this some stuff missing over here and there, and then sometimes the camera is kind of going all over the place, so I tried to do it as seamless as possible. Added some still images on top of the footage here and there, enhanced the audio a little bit, and then I added interactive menus so you can skip songs, and you know, there's bonus stuff like the music video for That's Why God Made the Radio, and you know, little things like that. I did menus with music, and you know, the audio isn't that bad really. I just really wish that they'd put this out officially without any of that freaking trickery, even just the audio. But you know, the Royal Albert Hall show as well was phenomenal, and I'm so freaking bummed out still that I didn't get a ticket for it. I was at the town, but I didn't have a ticket for the show, and it was just so... I had no idea how freaking great the show would be, and you know, it was my first opportunity to see them together, and it seems that it was the last one as well. So you know, it makes me sad, but whatever. You know, I still have the memory of this one. But anyhow, that was just a great year, and there's a lot of footage in the vaults, audio, video, you know, from that tour, and I thought it was a huge missed opportunity once again to not release anything from that tour with the 60th anniversary last year, basically, or even just, you know, this year, just, you know, something, you know, a full live show, live album from the 50th tour, new mix of That's Why God Made the Radio with bonus tracks, maybe, come on, you know, something, but you know, nothing. It was just dead silence. The last one I have over here is a little sneaky 3-part CD. I should do a proper cover for this one as well, but this is Mike's group, Mike's Beach Boys, in Royal Albert Hall, London in 2015, so a few years after the 50th show. They came back, and it was a freaking long show. I think they played 54 songs or something like that. It was about 3 hours, so it's spread on 3 CDs over here. And I was sneaky. I actually myself recorded it with a tiny recorder from the audience. But you know, it's just for me. You know, I have never shared this anywhere. So you know, it sounds, you know, decent. It's not a soundboard recording, but it's listenable. Set list amazing, and yeah, I saw the both shows that they did on that tour over there on 2 different nights, and was at the VIP thing, meet and greet as well, and met them, and they were very nice, very friendly, and yeah, great memory. And yeah, I mean, this is it. I mean, I know there's a lot of bootleg stuff and other unofficial stuff floating around there by them. I'm personally not that interested in that stuff. I'm always looking for the official stuff, and it's just a sadness that the Beach Boys are lacking so much in that section. You know, they only they got like 5 official live albums, and that's just a weird thing considering that they have 60 years of career, you know, 20 years with the original lineup, 30 plus years with Carl, you know. I don't know, it's just a freaking weird thing, but yeah, and those digital releases, I guess they are cool, like that Live in Chicago stuff, but I'm just not into them. I don't really like to purchase stuff on digital, because then it means that I'm gonna need to do my own physical copy of it anyhow, because I don't listen to digital files. So personally, I haven't bought any of those. I have no need for them, so I would really like that they'd be released physically too, or you know, in a service like that Nugget thing, whatever, you know, where you could choose a date and, you know, order that one, and then somebody in some storage in Asia or whatever, you know. I believe they are manufactured in the States, but anyway, like then they, you know, press them of your order, you know, so everybody wins, you know. Put out a site like that, you know, officially. I would love that. But, you know, I think I'm gonna do like decent reviews of these official live albums during this little gap over here, before I dive into the 70s era of the Beach Boys. So I'm gonna be talking more, you know, deeply about those shows and the thoughts I have of the, you know, all the set lists and, you know, all the details. So be prepared for that. And I think the official studio album by the Beach Boys, there's still enough left of them for me to review that it probably keeps me going the next year, 2024. But most likely I'm gonna be coming to an end, you know, of that run next year if things move like they have been moving right now with me doing weekly videos. I'm getting so tired. I've enjoyed so much doing these reviews. But anyway, this was it. Thanks for watching. See you on the next one. Take care. Bye bye.